In a moment meant to showcase North Korea's military might, everything went horribly wrong. Cameras were rolling, generals stood at attention, and Kim Jong-un himself was watching expecting a grand display of power, but instead disaster struck. Right before his eyes, a North Korean warship, the pride of the fleet, began to list, falter, and sink beneath the waves in a stunning and humiliating failure that has quickly gone viral around the globe. Now the world is asking, what happened? Was it sabotage, a technical failure, or something even more shocking? And how is Kim Jong-un reacting behind closed doors as his iron grip on perception starts to crack? Stay with us, because what happened that day wasn't just an accident. It could mark a turning point in North Korea's tightly controlled image of invincibility. It was supposed to be a bold statement, a show of power. On May 22nd, North Korea was ready to unveil one of the most powerful symbols of its military ambitions, a brand new warship, the second in its Choe Hyon-class. This massive vessel was meant to glide proudly into the sea, sending a clear message from Kim Jong-un to the world. North Korea's navy is rising. Watch out. But what was planned as a triumph quickly spiraled into disaster, one that played out in real time, right in front of Kim's eyes. Just moments after leaving the dock, the ship began to falter. It didn't get far. Minutes later, it capsized, ending up on its side, half submerged, broken, and defeated. What should have been a military milestone became a national embarrassment. Kim was reportedly furious, calling the whole thing a criminal act caused by absolute carelessness. He publicly blamed the engineers and shipbuilders responsible for the fiasco, and honestly, his outrage might be justified because this shouldn't have happened. North Korea had already built and deployed the first Choe Hyon-class warship successfully. They knew the process, or so they thought. The catastrophic failure of this second vessel has now raised serious questions. Was the first success just dumb luck? Or did something go horribly wrong this time around? According to a YouTube breakdown from The Sun, early footage of the incident shows signs that the bottom of the ship was crushed during the launch, throwing the vessel completely off balance. And here's the kicker. That happened because North Korea tried something it had never done before. Instead of launching the warship down a ramp, stern first, the usual reliable method, they went for a side launch, a more modern and technically demanding approach. The problem? Neither the ship nor the people handling it were ready. What followed was a perfect storm of inexperience and overconfidence. And it all played out in front of a national audience expecting strength, not slapstick. Experts were quick to weigh in. Young Uk from the Asian Institute for Policy Studies told Reuters that this whole mess likely came down to one thing: North Korea's lack of experience with large-scale side launches. Side launching is typically used for smaller or medium-sized ships, not 5,000-ton war machines like the Choe Hyon. So why take the risk? Simple. Space. North Korea had built a ship too large for traditional launch ramps. Side launching can work in tight areas, but as warships grow in size, most advanced navies opt for safer alternatives, like dry docks that gradually submerge the vessel into water. North Korea, lacking that infrastructure, rolled the dice and lost. Now, instead of a mighty warship cutting through the waves, there's a half-sunken wreck rusting near the launch site. What was meant to boost the regime's military image has instead turned into a case study in what not to do. This wasn't just a failed launch. It was a public televised collapse of North Korea's naval ambitions and a rare glimpse into the cracks forming behind the regime's show of strength. Whether the Choe Hyon-class warships have a future remains to be seen. But one thing's for sure, this disaster won't be forgotten anytime soon. At first, it seemed like overconfidence or maybe desperation. North Korea either truly believed it had mastered the process of launching a massive warship, or it was in such a rush to show off military progress that it gambled with a risky launch method. Either way, the result is now painfully clear. A 5,000-ton warship, meant to be a symbol of power, now sits tipped over on its side in shallow water. And the situation is going from bad to worse for Kim Jong-un. New satellite images obtained by the war zone TWZ reveal just how messy this whole disaster has become. The once proud ship is now mostly covered by a massive blue tarp, an awkward attempt to hide the wreck from the world. But the damage can't be concealed so easily. Analysts Joseph Bermudez, Victor Cha, and Jennifer Jun from Ideas Lab studied the images and explained what likely went wrong. According to their findings, the ship's support bogies, wheeled units under the bow that helped guide the vessel into the water, either slipped off the rails or failed entirely. That mistake caused the rear of the ship, the stern, to lurch into the harbor, while the front, the bow, remained stuck on the slideway. The result? A disastrous, lopsided launch that ended with the ship half submerged and listing hard. But that's not all. The experts say other problems may have played a role. Cranes and deck barges spotted at the shipyard might have been used to modify the rails before the launch. If those modifications were done poorly or skipped proper inspections, they could have contributed to the mechanical failure that ruined the launch. Then there's the choice of shipyard itself. The vessel was built at North Korea's Hamburg shipyard, a facility with zero experience handling anything close to the scale of a Choe Hyon-class warship. Until now, it had only built smaller ships like cargo carriers, fishing boats, and patrol vessels. Warships of this size? Completely outside its wheelhouse. And here's the kicker. The shipyard doesn't have a proper dry dock. That's a critical detail. A dry dock is a special basin that lets you launch and repair large vessels by flooding and draining water around them. Former South Korean Naval Admiral Kim told CNN that if North Korea had access to a dry dock, they could have launched the ship safely and might have avoided this whole catastrophe. But North Korea doesn't have that kind of infrastructure. Without a dry dock, they're stuck with risky launch methods like side launching, something even advanced navies avoid with ships of this size. Now, not only has the warship failed its debut, but salvaging and repairing it could take months. According to Admiral Kim, a proper dry dock would have made repairs fast and straightforward. Without it, the capsized ship may just keep deteriorating, and the clock is ticking before it sinks even further. In the end, this is more than just a botched launch. It's a spotlight on the cracks in North Korea's military machine, and a reminder that behind the bravado, some very basic problems remain unsolved. North Korea proved one thing last week. It can build a massive warship and roll it into the water, but it still hasn't figured out how to make it float. And the timing couldn't have been worse. The launch wasn't some quiet test run. It was a full-blown spectacle, complete with military fanfare, uniform salutes, and the country's supreme leader, Kim Jong-un, sitting front and center, soaking in every word as naval commanders hyped up the moment as a turning point for North Korea's military might. Beside him sat someone who's been appearing more and more in public. Lately, his daughter, Kim Jong-un. She's a bit of a mystery to the outside world. No one's even sure how old she really estimates range from 10 to 13. But she's been showing up next to her father at key events, from weapons tests to parades, fueling speculation that she may be being groomed to take the reins of the regime one day. Earlier this year, she was even seen walking beside Kim at Pyongyang's international airport, with a towering intercontinental ballistic missile in the background, no less. Some believe it was a not-so-subtle photo op to introduce North Korea's possible next leader. So when she showed up at this high-profile warship launch, all eyes were on her and her father. But what followed was anything but historic triumph. Moments after the launch ceremony, the ship wobbled, slipped, and ultimately capsized, half sinking into the harbor. The ship that was supposed to symbolize North Korea's naval rise quickly became a monument to failure. The humiliation stings even more because Kim's daughter was there to witness it, adding personal embarrassment to public disgrace. North Korean state media has gone as far as calling Jong-un a great person of guidance, despite her age. So imagine the damage this botched launch could do to the carefully crafted image Kim is building for both himself and possibly his heir. Unsurprisingly, Kim didn't take the debacle lightly. He exploded in fury, labeling the incident a criminal act caused by inexcusable carelessness. He immediately demanded the ship be repaired fast. According to sources, he's ordered everything fixed and ready to go before the next big political meeting of the ruling Workers' Party in late June. The state-run Korean Central News Agency KCNA also weighed in, essentially speaking for Kim. Their post-mortem matched outside analyses, confirming that a mechanical failure in the ship's launching system caused the stern to detach from its sled prematurely, throwing the ship's balance off completely. The result? The bow stayed stuck while the back of the ship plummeted into the harbor, rupturing parts of the hull and destroying its balance. It's a national embarrassment and a personal one for a leader obsessed with controlling his image. North Korea may have wanted to show strength. Instead, it showed the world that even with all the bluster and missile tests, its military might still have some very real cracks beneath the surface. When Kim Jong-un finally spoke out about the failed launch, his words were sharp and unforgiving. He called the whole incident a serious accident, and not just that a criminal act born from absolute carelessness and irresponsibility. He made it crystal clear, this kind of failure will not be tolerated. What's striking here is that North Korea actually issued a report at all. Usually, Kim and his inner circle keep military failures under wraps, quietly sweeping embarrassing setbacks under the rug as they push to modernize their forces. But this was different. The capsizing of the second Choe Hyon-class warship wasn't some minor mishap behind closed doors. It was a major event, splashed across media and impossible to hide, especially when you've got a giant warship lying on its side in a North Korean dock. Locals and military officials alike had to face the reality of the disaster. So Kim had no choice but to go public, and he made it clear. People will be held accountable, heads will roll. We'll dig into the fallout and what this means for North Korea's military ambitions a bit later. But first, let's look at what exactly North Korea has lost in this disaster. The Choe Hyon-class was supposed to be a game changer, a powerful warship that would finally bring North Korea closer to matching the might of the world's leading navies. This isn't just any ship. It's North Korea's first ever destroyer, designed to rival top-class vessels like the U.S. Navy's Aegis-equipped destroyers, the Aegis being one of the most advanced warships afloat. On paper, the Choe Hyon looks impressive. It stretches about 470 feet long and displaces roughly 5,000 tons of water, making it a sizable, formidable presence on the seas. It's packed with a high-tech array of sensors and radars, including phased array radars and a Type 362 air-to-surface search radar, giving it serious eyes on the horizon. There's more. The ship features 3 fire control radars and 2 navigation radars, backed up by countermeasure systems designed to defend against electronic warfare attacks. But it's the firepower on board that really turns heads. At its heart is a 127mm or 130mm naval gun. Details on exactly which and how fast it can fire remain murky. Add to that 3 close-in weapon systems, including the Panzer M1 system and a pair of 30mm AK-630 autocannons. For striking enemy ships, it carries 4 missile launchers, 2 torpedo tubes, and 4 Bullseye 4 launchers. But the real powerhouse? The Vertical Launch System, or VLS. The Choe Hyon boasts 74 VLS cells, each capable of firing a range of missiles. The war zone speculates these could include air defense missiles and possibly a brand new North Korean supersonic cruise missile. Reports suggest the ship carries at least 4 different sizes of VLS cells, giving it the flexibility to launch multiple types of missiles depending on the mission. This ship was meant to be a symbol of North Korea's naval leap forward. Instead, it capsized before it even set sail. Oh, and there's more. Kim Jong-un claims this ship will eventually be able to carry tactical ballistic missiles and even nuclear-armed cruise missiles, once North Korea figures out how to build those weapons. Now, it's important to take these claims with a grain of salt. After all, these specs come straight from North Korea, a place known for dialing up the hype to make its military look tougher than it really is. But even if the ship isn't quite the powerhouse they say it is, it's still a seriously impressive piece of naval hardware. If that second Choe Hyon-class destroyer wasn't currently lying on its side in a dock that clearly wasn't suited for launching something this big, we could actually say this ship marks a major leap forward for North Korea's Navy. Unfortunately, it doesn't. Right now, that vessel stands as one of the biggest embarrassments Kim has faced on the world stage in a long time. So the big question is, what happens next? Well, Kim's already made it clear. The officials he holds responsible for this disaster will be held accountable at the upcoming plenary session of North Korea's ruling party in June, a high-level political meeting where serious business gets done. That meeting is also Kim's hard deadline to have this ship up and running again. Here's the kicker: these officials have maybe a month to squeeze in what could realistically be 4 or 5 months worth of repairs. And they'll be doing it without the benefit of a dry dock, which would normally make fixing a ship this size way easier. Even if they manage this impossible feat, You can bet Kim's not going to let them off easy. Exactly how he'll punish them is anyone's guess, but let's just say their families probably won't be seeing much of them anytime soon. Beyond the immediate fallout for those in charge, this failed launch has exposed a much bigger problem. Kim's Navy just isn't ready for the modernization push he's been pushing hard for. For years, Kim has been pushing what he calls a second revolution in his military, an effort to upgrade the country's aging Soviet-era gear in homemade weapons. The goal? To bring all branches of North Korea's forces up to speed and complement the threat posed by its missile and nuclear programs. But this launch failure lays bare just how far the gap still is and how much more work they've got to do. North Korea's push to modernize its navy is about as stable as that Choe Hyon-class warship now lying on its side in the water. CNN points out that this launch was supposed to be the centerpiece of North Korea's boldest naval upgrade in decades. Instead, it's laid bare the harsh truth. The country simply isn't ready to build and operate the kind of ships it's dreaming of. And that's just one of Kim Jong-un's new headaches. His rush to get this warship built and launched as fast as possible almost certainly played a role in the disaster he had to watch unfold in May 2022. According to the War Zone, there were red flags early on that corners were being cut during construction. For example, they say weapons tests were likely done before the ship even had all its engines installed. That suggests the ship had to be towed out for those tests, a desperate move to show off firepower that didn't really exist yet. North Korea also boasts it built its first Choe Hyon-class ship in about a year. And the second one, the one that capsized, probably took even less time. Sure, it's impressive they managed to build these ships so fast, but a year is nowhere near enough time for proper, thorough testing. Even if the rushed work didn't directly cause the capsizing, it's likely the shortcuts would have led to problems down the line. And here's where things get really interesting. Is North Korea's naval buildup more about looking strong on the world stage than actually being a serious threat? It's definitely possible, maybe even likely, since the Kim family's grip on power depends heavily on propaganda. If that second warship had sailed smoothly, maybe that would have been enough a flashy showpiece. A vanity project meant more for show than real muscle. That might explain the over-the-top launch ceremony, complete with fireworks, Kim's personal entourage, and even his daughter in attendance. Yes, the ship does pack some serious weapons, so it could be a threat, but that doesn't matter much now. If the goal was prestige to feed Kim's propaganda machine, a capsized ship is a humiliating failure. No wonder Kim's furious. For now, all that's left is to wait and see if the ship can even be saved. CNN reports that North Korea's official news agency, KCNA, says repairs are possible. Investigations revealed no holes in the hull, but there is a huge scratch along the starboard side, a small silver lining in an otherwise massive mess. There's also some seawater that's leaked into the stern, which has to be pumped out, though. How that fits with the claim that the hull has no holes is a bit unclear. North Korea says the repairs will take about 10 days. Honestly, that sounds pretty optimistic, especially since they don't have a proper dry dock to work with. Meeting Kim's June deadline seems unlikely at best. What's certain is this ship isn't going to join North Korea's Navy anytime soon. In fact, it might be a total loss, a sinking of hundreds of millions of dollars right there in the harbor. So what do you think about the capsizing of North Korea's second Choe Hyon-class warship? Can Kim bounce back from this massive embarrassment? Will North Korea actually get the ship fixed and running again? And what lessons will they take away from this costly disaster? Drop your thoughts below. And don't forget to subscribe to The Military Show for the latest updates on military news from North Korea, Ukraine, and around the globe.